Yes, the film, What in the World Are They Spraying, I think is going to be a very important film, and it's going to shock a lot of people.
And it's interesting, Dale and Christina, this is of interest not just in this country, but European countries and, frankly, all over the world. A lot of folks interested in it.
Well, Dave, you mentioned that climatologists and others who study the atmosphere believe that they'd be able to surely spot any kind of signs of an ominous plot.
Scientists gathered at the American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting in San Diego to discuss the plausibility of implementing various geoengineering campaigns throughout the world, all under the guise that the Earth has a man-made global warming problem that can, in part, be solved by spraying aerosol, aluminum, and other particles into the sky to block the sun. When these scientists were asked about existing aerosol programs, they stated that no such programs have been implemented to date. This contradicts the claims of many who state that worldwide aerosol programs have already been started.
They are spraying something. I think everyone's innate intelligence tells them what they see in the sky, those crisscrossing and these white trails that go to horizon, that's not just ice crystals forming at the back end of a jet engine. Those ice crystals are absorbed into the atmosphere very soon. You can see them trailing along right behind an airplane as it flies across the sky. There's a little trail of white smoke, and it just follows the plane and disappears. That's totally different from these billowing fumes of smoke that go from horizon to horizon and spread out, and by the mid-afternoon the sky is milky white. It's a result of a relatively new industry springing up called geoengineering. There's a group of scientists and political figures and corporations who are planning to make a great deal of money in changing the nature of our planet.
It is called geoengineering, fighting global warming by putting a chemical dust in the atmosphere and reflecting harmful radiation back into space.
We take geoengineering to mean deliberate, large-scale intervention in the Earth system.
There are a variety of schemes that have been discussed for geoengineering. A classic example is injecting reflecting particles into Earth orbit.
And they say that it's just in the talking stage right now. They say we're talking about spraying aluminum and barium into the atmosphere, and they say we need to do studies to see if there are toxic effects and so forth. And they're saying all the right things as though they're deliberating it, but the evidence is abundant now that this has been going on for over a decade. It's been going on. It's going on right now as we speak.
Believe it or not, military aircraft flying through the region is dropping chaff. Small bits of aluminum, sometimes it's made of plastic or even italicized paper products, but it's used as an anti-radar issue, and obviously they're up there practicing. Now, they won't confirm that, but I was in the Marine Corps for many years, and I'll tell you right now, that's what it is.
This is inevitably military or something going on. The government, the Air Force, you see this kind of a pattern like this, you can rest assured there's something going on. They're actually little bitty magnetic and little bitty strips of, whether it's aluminum.
We now know what they're spraying. We can identify it. There have been many laboratory tests taken of not only the soil and the water, but from the rainwater and from the snow. Now, this comes from the sky. You can't say it came up out of the ground. And these tests have been taken from atmosphere and rainwater and snow in areas that are hundreds of miles away from industrial centers. So you can't say it's being blown there from a smokestack or something like that. And what they're finding is an alarming high level of toxic substances. On Mount Shasta, for example, you should find no aluminum whatsoever in snow up there because it came from the sky. It's 60 times higher on the snow on Mount Shasta. Extremely toxic. Hikers are drinking that stuff. They're going to kill themselves or they lose their minds or something like that. And we find this all over, not just in Mount Shasta. We found high levels in beautiful islands of Hawaii where they've been spraying a lot. And you take the samples out of the rainwater. This stuff is coming from the sky. But to make matters even worse, they're lying to us about it. And that's the message in our film, What in the World Are They Spraying? I'm g-edward-griffin. I'm one of the producers of the video, What in the World Are They Spraying? In my view, it's one of the most important documentaries you're going to see, perhaps in your lifetime. Order it now. It'll be delivered on October 22nd, but get your copy now so you'll be one of the first ones to have it.
This film, What in the World Are They Spraying?, goes a long way towards waking the people up. So I salute the filmmakers, and I ask all of you to get involved today and to make sure that everyone in your circle understands just how deep this globalist program is. The film is What in the World Are They Spraying? Pre-order it now and see it first on DVD at Infowars.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and you just saw the new 5.5-minute trailer that we shot last week with g-edward-griffin in Southern California. It's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. If you want to go see it, if you're a radio listener, you can find that. The video is titled G-Edward-Griffin Talks About New Chemtrail Film. It's also at the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. And if you want to pre-order it, it's going to be shipping out on or right after the 22nd of October. It's completed. It's now going into the manufacturing process. I've seen the final of it. Very, very powerful film because it's the first film post-disclosure. They haven't disclosed it fully, but they go, yeah, we've been doing some testing. We want to do more testing. But we know it's a huge secret global program. There was a Nobel Prize handed out in the early 90s for the idea. The White House science czar, John-P-Holdren, talks about it. They're going to save us from global warming by spraying aluminium-dioxide and barium salts that are very toxic on the population. And, of course, G-Edward-Griffin is a writer and documentary filmmaker, and he really needs no introduction. And, of course, he's in our film, Fall of the Republic. He's also in the film I produced, Invisible Empire. And these films are very well done. They're very well documented, and they're waking people up. Yes, you know all about this, most of you, but your friends and family don't. And so you can give them What in the World Are They Spraying? And it's going to be shipped out in the order that they're received. But it usually just takes us a few days to ship out all the pre-orders once we can officially release it. What in the World Are They Spraying? Available at Infowars.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. You can also write to us, and by the time we get your order in the mail, it should be about time to ship it out to you, at P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760. Again, P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760, or 888-253-3139. But the easiest way to get it is the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And we're going to add today some combos where you can get the video and get some of my films discounted while you're at it. Makes a great Christmas gift. But the fact is, the main mission here is to expose this global secret program, and several of the big facets are covered in G-Edward-Griffin's film. You know, we even sent camera people to some of the same government meetings that are actually in this film where they're admitting that they want to do this and are looking at it. But we have all the declassifications. We have the patents where they can mix it with the jet fuel, where they've been already testing it. They call this giant global program testing. But some countries don't have it, some do. Any country basically dominated by the Anglo-American establishment has chemtrailing going on all the time. And it's weather modification, but it's more than that. And I was excited to see that they were making a film, because my film that covers chemtrails partially in my years of research, we're working on 2 years, won't be out till next year. So we don't have time. Who knows where we'll be next year? This is a great film. Order What in the World Are They Spraying at Infowars.com and get it first. Also, there's going to be an event where they're going to premiere it on the 22nd out in Atlanta, Georgia, and we'll also tell you about that as well. But going to G-Edward-Griffin, G-Edward, it's good to have you here with us, and I'm glad that you're in this film and have put your name behind it and are producing it, because this is vital information. Well, thanks, Alex. I'm glad to be here. And turning that around, I'm delighted that you've got such an intense interest and knowledge on this, because you're the kind of a guy with the credibility and the following that can really put this over. So thanks for doing that. Oh, you bet. Tell us how when you started researching aerosol spray, weather modification, persistent jet contrails, as they're known, and about this film. Well, I kind of backed into this, Alex, as you probably remember. I've always had a strong interest in the topic, but I've never had the time to dig into it myself and do some really original independent research. I've always depended on the research of others,
And still, it's pretty much that way. But I wished I had had time. But I was so tied up with issues relating to the Federal Reserve System and alternative health issues and so forth, the items in which I've worked mostly in the past, I just didn't have time to go any further into this chemtrail issue. I had strong feelings. I had enough information that I knew that it wasn't these simple vapor trails. It wasn't just contrails, as they say. But anyway, beyond that, I wasn't really prepared to offer myself as any kind of an authority. Well, it turns out that there were a couple of young filmmakers, Paul Wittenberg and Michael Murphy, that decided they were going to do a video investigation of chemtrails. So, as luck would have it, they called me and asked if I had an opinion on it, and if so, would I mind making a statement for their cameras. I said, well, sure, I've got an opinion on it, so come on over. So that's how I met these fellows. So I gave them my little statement on camera, and then they put it up on the Internet, and, well, there was such a strong response, and we discovered that there are people all over the world that are equally concerned and just dying for real information. So anyway, to make a long story short, Paul and Mike and I decided to pool our resources. I decided that if I could go on and try and provide some funding and ask for donations to get this film done, give them the money to complete it, that then they could run with it.
Well, so they went to Hawaii, they went to Europe, they went all over the U.S.
Yeah, right.
Just amazing. And since I announced, a year ago or so, send us footage of chemtrails, I've gotten them from Australia, Spain, Russia, Mexico. I mean, time lapse of just blue sky, and then it's just turned into pure trails that hours later are still there. That's not ice crystals.
Absolutely not. And it's amazing. I get a lot of flack, just as you do, I'm sure, from people who say, well, yes, it really is ice crystals, and they try and justify it. And, of course, they can make a pretty interesting case until you start looking into the details, which we don't want to go into all that now. Just common sense tells you that these are not ice crystals. And, of course, the proof of the pudding is that you measure what's coming out of the sky. I mean, there's stuff coming out of the sky, and you can catch it in rainwater, you can catch it in the snow, and these fellows have been around the world, as you mentioned, and they're talking to researchers who've done exactly that. One interesting case was up in Mount Shasta area, where, my gosh, you can't think of a more pristine area than that. It's hundreds of miles away from any industrial area, so you can't say, well, this is just smoke coming out from the smokestacks or something like that. And they went up to the snow caps on top of Mount Shasta, and that's supposed to be about as pure water as you can find anywhere in the world. And they tested it, and lo and behold, there's aluminum in it, aluminum and barium. Now, there's not supposed to be any aluminum and barium falling out of the sky. It's supposed to be zero. But what did they find? Well, it's interesting that the EPA has a measurement that triggers an alert. You have to do something if there's as many as 1,000 parts per billion of aluminum in water. So what did they find up there? 60,000 parts per billion in pristine snow water. Well, and that's 60, what is that? That's 60 times greater than the level that requires government action.
And you've got the test all over California, Hawaii, other areas that are even higher than that.
Yeah, pristine areas, Hawaii. I mean, what's going on in Hawaii? There's no reason for aluminum and barium and strontium to be falling from the sky in Hawaii. So anyway, you can argue until you're blue in the face about these are contrails or these are ice crystals, but the proof really is in what is falling from the sky. So that's I think where we should focus rather than this issue of chem versus contrail.